Every word you've ever spoken started somewhere. No one knows exactly how or when. This question got so out of hand. A whole scientific society banned debating it. This video answers two huge questions. How it splintered into 7,000 tongues. If you're enjoying this video so far, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment. So why is this so hard to solve? Language leaves no bones, no footprints. Writing didn't exist before language itself. You can't dig up a spoken sentence. Every clue is indirect, borrowed, incomplete. Scientists study skulls, throats, even baby babble. They compare humans to chimps and gorillas. None of it gives a final answer. Brain size differences never fully explain it either. So theories multiplied, wild and unprovable. By the 1800s, things got out of hand. In 1866, one group had enough. The Linguistics Society of Paris, in France, gathered to update its official rules. One rule stood out from the rest. No paper on the origin of language. Not one. Ever. Full stop. Too many wild claims, zero real proof. So the society simply banned the topic. That's how out of hand it got. But that didn't stop everyone from trying. Enter Noam Chomsky, a modern linguist. His idea, language wasn't slow at all. He argues it appeared almost overnight. A single genetic change, deep in the brain. Suddenly, early humans could nest ideas inside ideas. Think of a sentence like this one. The dog that chased the cat that fled. 3 actions, layered inside one sentence. Chomsky calls this trick recursion. No other animal seems able to do it. Not chimps, not dolphins, not even parrots. For Chomsky, that's the real spark of language. One mutation, and grammar exploded outward. Fast, sudden, almost like flipping a switch. But not every scientist agrees with that. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar tells a slower story. Watch a group of grooming monkeys sometime. They pick through fur for hours daily. It's not just hygiene, it's social glue. Grooming says, I trust you, you're safe. But grooming only works one-on-one. What happens when your group gets bigger? You simply can't groom 50 people at once. So Dunbar says talking replaced touching. Words became a faster, cheaper kind of grooming. Gossip, bonding, warnings, all through sound. Language, in this view, is slow social glue, growing bit by bit as groups expanded. There's a third, stranger idea worth mentioning. Charles Darwin had his own hunch too. He pictured early humans singing before speaking. Musical calls, full of rhythm and pitch. Meaning came later, layered onto the melody. Picture a hum turning slowly into words. It's poetic, though hard to test today. 3 theories. Still, not one final winner. And however it actually began. One thing is certain about what happened next. That first language didn't stay alone for long. Here's how it became 7,000 different languages. Ready to watch one voice become thousands? It starts with something very simple. People moved, and distance changed everything. Let's follow that journey around the globe. Around 100,000 years ago, humans wandered. Small groups walked out of one region. They crossed grasslands, then coastlines, then continents. Some headed toward what's now Europe. Others pushed east, toward Asia and beyond. Some crossed into the Americas eventually. Every group carried the same one language. At first, they could all understand each other. But once you separate, you stay separate. And separation changes everything about speech. Language started drifting apart almost immediately. Picture a mountain range cutting a valley in two. One group settles on the eastern slope. Another settles far on the western side. An ocean does the same thing, faster. So does a desert or 1,000 miles. These groups barely meet again for generations. No phones, no letters, no shared radio. Just distance, time, and isolated conversations. What do you think happens to a language? when nobody checks in for centuries. You've probably played the whisper game as a kid. One phrase, passed quietly down a long line. By the end, it's completely unrecognizable. Now imagine that game lasting 1,000 years. Not one line of people, but a whole nation. Every generation shifts the sound slightly. A hard consonant softens over a few centuries. A vowel drifts, just a little, then more. Children copy parents, but never perfectly. Small errors become the new normal fast. Multiply that by hundreds of generations. The drift never really stops, ever. Meanings drift too, not just sounds. Scientists simply call this steady process language drift. A word for hut might grow into home. A word for strike might soften into touch. Grammar shifts as well, quietly, endlessly. Word order flips. Endings appear, then vanish. None of this feels dramatic in the moment. Each small step feels almost invisible day to day. But steps add up across centuries. Two isolated groups drift further and further apart. Until one day, something quietly breaks. Send someone from Group 1 to visit Group 2. At first, familiar words pop up here and there. But whole sentences no longer make sense. The rhythm sounds foreign. The grammar feels wrong. They once spoke the exact same language. Now, they genuinely cannot understand each other. That's the moment linguists call a new language. Not one big event, just distance plus time. Now repeat that pattern again and again. Every isolated group splits its language further. One tongue becomes two. Two becomes four. Four becomes dozens across a few thousand years. Branches keep splitting off of other branches. Migration, isolation, drift, and a new split. Over and over, on every inhabited continent. But how would anyone ever prove this happened? Fast forward to 1786, in colonial India. A British judge named Sir William Jones sat reading. He wasn't studying language for fun, really. He was learning Sanskrit for his court work. But something odd kept catching his attention. Sanskrit words looked strangely familiar to him. They resembled words he already knew in Greek. And in Latin, a language he'd studied for years. Too many matches to just be coincidence. Jones had stumbled onto something enormous. Think about the word for father in each. Sanskrit's pitar, Greek's pater, Latin's pater. Nearly identical across three separate continents. The word for three matched almost exactly too. Grammar patterns lined up in strange, precise ways. This wasn't borrowing between neighboring traders. These languages had barely touched for centuries. Random borrowing could never explain this much overlap. So Jones proposed a bold, simple explanation. All three must share one common ancestor. A language spoken long before any of them. Remember that promise from earlier in this video? How did one language become 7,000? Jones just handed us the missing piece. He called this hidden ancestor Proto-Indo-European. No one wrote it down. It's a reconstruction. Linguists rebuilt it by comparing its descendants. Like piecing a shattered vase back together. Jones's discovery launched an entire new science. Comparative linguistics, the study of language families. One quiet reading session changed everything we knew. Picture that ancestor language as a single trunk. Now watch the trunk split into thick branches. One branch grows into the Germanic languages. English, German, Dutch, Swedish, all cousins. Another branch becomes the Romance languages. Spanish, French, Italian, all children of Latin. A third branch spreads into Slavic tongues. Russian, Polish, Czech, and many more. A fourth reaches toward India and Iran. Hindi, Persian, Bengali, still distant relatives. That's just one single family among many. Other trunks grew entirely separate root systems. Mandarin belongs to a completely different tree. So does Arabic. So does Swahili. Each family has its own ancient ancestor. Its own migrations, its own whisper games. its own isolated valleys and crossed oceans. Every branch tells the same basic story. People moved, distance did the rest. Multiply that across every continent on Earth. So how many branches exist today total? Roughly 7,000 living languages right now. Some spoken by over 1 billion people. Others spoken by fewer than 10 elders. Some are written down in careful detail. Others only ever lived in spoken air. Every single one traces back through drift. Migration, isolation, generations of tiny changes. All from, quite possibly, one small spark. One group, one fire, one first sound. Some islands alone hold hundreds of languages. Papua New Guinea has over 800. Tiny valleys, each with its own tongue. Compare that to a typical country with just one. Meanwhile, some languages are vanishing right now. One dies, roughly every few months worldwide. Each loss erases a unique way of thinking. A whole branch, quietly falling silent forever. That's the cost hidden behind 7,000. That's more language diversity than most people imagine. So picture that fire again, from the very start. Someone gestures. Someone makes a sound. You still don't know exactly what happened there. Nobody alive does, not with total certainty. Maybe it was Chomsky's sudden spark. Maybe it was Dunbar's slow, social glue. Maybe it was something closer to Darwin's song. The honest answer is still, nobody's fully sure. Remember that scientific society in Paris? The one that banned the whole topic? They hoped silence would end the guessing. It didn't. Curiosity never actually stayed banned. Scientists kept theorizing anyway for over a century. New tools now study brains, genes, even babies. The ban failed. The mystery only grew richer. You're proof the question never really died. Every word you've ever spoken started somewhere. Now you know how wild that beginning was. A sudden spark or slow social glue. A banned question, a judge's strange discovery. One small sound, echoing into 7,000 languages. Every sentence you speak carries that ancient echo. The first voice is still speaking through you. Wonder started this story. Wonder still drives it forward. And somehow, the mystery still isn't over.